Containers structurally are very safe to support loads. So we find it a good place to start building stuff. We use two basic kind of containers. We use new containers or one-trippers, and we use used containers, containers that have history with them. And you can see this container has been around the world. It's got the nice patina on it, the nice rusting through the Core 10 steel. It's got character to it. It's got bumps and bruises to it, and we like that. People don't really understand how to use containers. They look at containers and they think of them as unsightly, inexpensive. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make a ding in the architecture world. We're trying to softly make a statement that there's a different way to do things. But we're aware of the fact that in order for that to take effect and take hold in the market, we have to create beautiful structures. And that's why we like the oh wow reaction. So as this opens, you can see it changes from a rusty old container on a trailer to an Italian cafe. And it's a beautiful custom-made chandelier on the top, the hydraulic power unit on the top to give it that industrial feel, Carrara marble counter, fresh running water inside, and then the back doors open to form an additional access space where it can open. People are coming up and having coffee, and I'm serving them in the 360 round underneath the chandelier with the industrial look above, the aluminum here, the still rusty patina parts of the container here.
It's very sort of James Bond.
There's a theatricality to it because this piece goes, it's been to San Francisco, it's been to Miami, and what they'll do is they'll have celebrity chefs and foodies stand inside it with it closed, and then they'll open it and you go like, wow, that's really cool. And that's exactly the reaction we want.
And it's neat because it's still on wheels. It's still totally portable, right? You can just hook this up.
Yeah, totally. The front here hooks up. You hook it up to a truck, and it can go anywhere where there's a road. And in 60 seconds, you open it, and it transforms from the container to a cafe. We wanted to create a oh wow experience and an unexpected experience. It's causing people to consider different ways of perceiving containers. The first shipping container was created in China in about 1952 or so. And China is a nation of exportation, and they needed a way to export their goods efficiently. So they created containers, right, as opposed to boxes all over the place, the way dock workers used to do it. They pack them full of whatever goods they pack them full of. They ship them wherever. The goods are taken out. Now the containers are empty. It's more expensive to ship a container from the United States or South America or wherever back to China than for them to make a new container, fill it full of goods, and ship it. So most of them go one way, and then they'll be used here and there sporadically for additional things. But basically, a lot of containers, their life is done once they leave and they come and the goods are loaded out. So what we've done is we've said, rather than have them sit there, let's use them, let's repurpose them, let's upcycle them, let's make beautiful, functional art spaces for people to live, commercial spaces, event units, etc., out of containers that have already been built. This is a 40-foot container. It's going to be it is an innovation space. We'll be inside a warehouse like this. And what we did is we cut out the end of it, put a frame, steel frame around the end, and we put these automatic doors, which are sensing to to motion, and also not installed yet, we're going to have a fingerprint scanner here. So you put your finger here, it reads your fingerprint, the door opens and you go in. It's up on blocks, so we'll step up. Normally it'll be on the ground. So it's about 70% done now. There'll be 2 tables here. The wood will be inlaid here, and then you'll move here. These are workstations here with a secure box. And then as you move down, Arlie, you want to hit the doors for me? These doors are on electric hydraulics. They open pistons. And they're custom made shelving here, so books will be here, sort of a library feel here. Because they open outward and not upward, there's less weight on them, so we were able to use electric actuators. These are the original container doors here. So the client wanted the automation here because they wanted the effect of it. We could have just left these without the actuators. It's not necessary. You could just open them manually, as we do with some containers. This is the original container floor. It's marine grade plywood, which is what containers normally use as their floor. You can see the screws in here to attach it to the steel ribbing underneath.
Question I get all the time, shouldn't use the floor because they have toxins or been treated with some sort of,
Right, so there's a big difference between containers. This is what's called a one-tripper container, and it's made one trip. So it's essentially a new container. So if containers have been used to transport produce or some sort of thing like that, they may be sprayed with something like that. This one was not, because it's a new container. There's an actuator at the top of each door. These ones, we use hydraulic actuators and electric actuators. These are electric actuators. And they operate pretty simply. There's a crank motor inside. It cranks, it opens, the piston moves out, it pushes the door out.
And is this kind of stuff, does it add a lot of cost to the project?
It adds cost, obviously, because it's an automation. But the reason we used electric actuators here is because relatively they're less expensive than hydraulic actuators. There you go. There are 3 containers here, and this is going to be a home up in Woodstock, a 2-story container. This container that we're standing in now is the top container, and you can see, for example, we've cut the hole here for the staircase coming up. Bedroom, 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 and bath, right? So it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. In general, we leave all this exposed. We think there's a lot of beauty in it. We like steel, we like contrast of surfaces, glass, metal next to each other, so we don't hide any of this. And we like to have the container do as much work as it can in its natural state. So where the structural components of the container are there, we leave them intact because they're already there. We don't have to do anything, and we just open them up. Containers, if you don't change them, you're going to be living in a no light in it. You have to open them up. You have to alter them. So is there time, effort, and cost in the materials? Of course. But it's pretty minimal, to be honest. Containers are structurally sound. If you look at pictures of container ships, containers are stacked below deck, which you can't see, and above deck, 10 high. So think about the weight that the bottom container is supporting there. So they weigh 5,000 pounds. They're core 10 steel, which is steel that doesn't corrode against seawater. They're strong structural components. So they're a good place to start. They're a good place to start building stuff.
Structurally, did you have to really reinforce a lot?
What we had to reinforce were the sides, right? Because when you remove, it's funny because you think that containers, the sides are very rigid when you go to them. If you move over and bang on a side of a container, it's really rigid, right? But if you cut the side of a container out and pull it off, it's floppy. Structurally, you can cut the sides of a container out and it'll still be structurally sound, but you have to reinforce the sides. So we've started to take the sides off this container, right? And you'll see the vertical cuts have been made along this side, and then at the other end, the same vertical cut here. The next thing we'll do is we'll build a frame on the welding table, which these guys are starting right now. So we'll build a frame to go inside the unit. It's not dissimilar from these frames, which form wall frames and structural frames, but a frame like this, although larger, will be put on here and welded to this piece. Then we'll do the final horizontal cuts along the top and the bottom, and the side will be free, and it'll be supported by the frame. Then we'll lift the side off, we'll put it on the welding table, and we'll do final finishes to it. And that's the way we take the sides off. This is going to be a unit on the bottom with a bar, and in here, these are the internal walls, which the guys just did the framing on. There's going to be a staircase that goes up here. This will be cut out here, and on top there'll be a balcony. These doors will remain as they are. You can see, if you look here, the cuts have been done here. There's a vertical cut, and at the other end.
Okay.
Yep.
But again, that's worth it. It's not like you're losing the structure that you bought.
We're using it all. This isn't going anywhere. It's going to be part of the structure. It's just cut, and they'll actuate downward into 2 floors. All of the container is used, all of it. We don't remove anything else. You can see, this is how the floor starts. It's just raw marine grade plywood, not finished yet. So we'll sand it down, we'll remove the tire marks from it, some of the imperfections of it. We like to leave the holes here with the screws because we think that's beautiful. We think it's industrial, we like the look of it. And then we just finish it to a finished floor. But other than that, it remains just as it is. Yep. All architecture is made out of geographic shapes and spaces. You already have boxes. All we're doing here is we're starting out with the basic structural components already completed. So we find it an extremely efficient way to do it. And when we build things, about 75 to 90% of the materials in them are upcycled. Whereas if you take traditional manufacturing, you're lucky if you're at 25, 30%. So that's a huge difference there. These are the original sides of the container. All we've done here is we've cut out the sides of the container. We've added structural steel to make a rigid frame so the side isn't floppy. We've put very thin aluminum here. The rest is the container. This is the original part of the container. This is the original part of the container. We've just enhanced what's already there and made it beautiful and surprising, and in this case, something that moves. We want to challenge the paradigm that architecture is a static art form. Why can't architecture move? Why can't it transform? We just want to flip people's thinking, and because in the United States today, sitting on the ground, there are 500 million containers just sitting. About 70% of those are in light or no use. It makes a lot more sense to use something that's already been made for a different purpose and upcycle it for another purpose rather than starting from scratch and make a beautiful piece of functional art, because they're there already. Use them, and that's what we do. So we don't think we have the answer, but we think we have an opportunity to showcase a different way to do it, because it forces people to reconsider the paradigm and go like, wow, you can have a beautiful house. You can have a beautiful office space made out of containers. Maybe I'll think about this differently from now on. And that's the little ping we're trying to make, the little soft statement we're trying to make in the architecture world.